The night was too quiet, the air too warm, and my heart was beating too fast. I stared at my reflection, fingers brushing my lips where his kiss had burned me hours ago. I should have been furious, but all I could think about was the way his hand had pinned me to the wall, the way his storm-gray eyes had looked straight into me like he owned me already. My chest ached, my body heated, and I knew running from him was useless. Welcome to Cherryboyhearts BL. If you love steamy romance, obsessive alphas, and slow-burn passion that will make your heart race, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. Sit back, relax, and let's get lost in the story together. When I opened my eyes, I thought I was dreaming. The ceiling above me was high, painted with gold and white swirls, and a chandelier glittered like 1,000 stars. This was not my tiny apartment. My body felt heavy, but also light like it wasn't mine. I sat up fast, my heart racing, and the blanket slipped from my chest. What the? I froze. My hands were slim and pale, my nails perfect and clean. Not the same hands I had used every day of my old life. I stumbled out of bed, my legs wobbling, and ran to the tall mirror across the room. The man staring back at me was not me. He was beautiful, too beautiful. Black hair brushed his jaw and shone like silk. His brown eyes were sharp, like they could cut someone, and his lips curved naturally into something cruel. No way, I whispered, touching my reflection. I'm Rakuya. I knew this face. I knew this man. Rakuya was the villain Omega from my favorite BL novel. The one who tried to ruin the love between the Alpha Duke and the sweet Omega protagonist. The one who died painfully after provoking the Duke too many times. A chill ran through my whole body. I can't die twice, I muttered, gripping the edge of the mirror so hard my knuckles turned white. I won't. I'll do everything different. Stay quiet, stay calm, survive. I forced myself to breathe and look around. The room was rich with velvet curtains, soft rugs, and golden lamps. It smelled like roses and expensive wood, but none of it made me feel safe. My chest was tight, like a rope was tied around it. A knock came at the door, making me jump. My lord, the banquet is ready, a soft female voice said. Banquet? Oh no, I was supposed to play Rakuya. Rakuya, the arrogant troublemaker who mocked everyone and flirted with alphas just to make them mad. If I acted wrong, they would notice. If I acted too much like him, I'd follow his doomed path. I swallowed hard. Okay, I called back, my voice softer than I meant. I changed into the fine black clothes laid out for me. The fabric was smooth, hugging my new body perfectly. In the mirror, I looked like someone who could ruin lives with a smile. But inside, my stomach was twisting. The banquet hall was full of light, music, and voices. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and nobles sat at long tables, their faces full of gossip. I walked slowly, trying not to shake. People glanced at me and then whispered behind their fans. I sat in my seat near the center table, next to a noblewoman who stared like she expected me to insult her. Instead, I smiled politely and said, "Good evening." Her eyes went wide. "Oh, good evening, Lord Rakuya." Everyone nearby stared. Rakuya never greeted anyone. He usually made cutting remarks or ignored them completely. I tried to act calm, sipping the wine carefully, eating slowly, but my heart kept thumping in my chest. Every time someone looked at me, I nodded or smiled just a little, and the whispers grew louder. And then I felt it, a heavy, burning gaze on my back. I looked up, and my whole body froze. Hiroto Kurigane, the Alpha Duke himself, sat across the hall. His storm-gray eyes locked on me like a predator watching prey. His long dark hair was tied back neatly, his black coat sharp against his broad shoulders. In the novel, Rakuya used to provoke him on purpose, called him cold and boring, tried to seduce him just to make him angry. That was what led to his death. I quickly looked away, my hands sweaty. Don't talk to him. Don't make eye contact. Just survive. The banquet dragged on, and every time I risked a glance, Hiroto's eyes were still on me, not blinking, not looking anywhere else. It made my chest feel hot, my throat dry. When the music ended and the nobles started to leave, I stood up fast, desperate to escape. I walked quickly down the hall, my heart hammering. I almost made it out. A hand grabbed my wrist. I gasped and turned, finding myself face to face with Hiroto. Up close, he was taller, his shadow falling over me like a wall. His grip was firm, his fingers warm against my skin, and the scent of his alpha pheromones rolled over me, making my knees weak. "You weren't this quiet before," he said softly, but his voice was like steel. His storm gray eyes searched mine. "What are you hiding?" My mouth went dry. He stepped closer, and I felt my back press against the wall. His presence was too much, too close, his scent thick in the air. My heart was racing so hard I thought he could hear it. "I'm not hiding anything," I whispered, but my voice shook. He leaned in until his lips were near my ear. His breath was warm, making my whole body shiver. "Don't lie to me," he murmured. "I'll find out the truth." I swallowed, my chest rising and falling too fast. His hand on my wrist was almost burning now. And then, just as suddenly, he let go. "Run all you want," he said, stepping back, his gray eyes dark with something dangerous. "But you can't escape me, Rikuya." I stood there frozen as he walked away, his boots echoing on the marble floor. My body trembled. My wrist tingled where he touched me, and I pressed my back harder against the wall to keep from sliding to the ground. "Oh no," I breathed. "He's going to kill me, or worse." But the strange part was, my heart wasn't only afraid. It was beating with something else too. Something hot and secret that I didn't want to admit. After that night at the banquet, I made a promise to myself. Stay far away from Hiroto Kurigane. I woke up the next morning with my heart still pounding, the feeling of his hand on my wrist burning like it had left a mark. I rubbed at the spot, but it didn't go away. His words echoed in my head over and over. "You can't escape me, Rikuya." No, I had to escape him. I didn't care how cold, how rude, or how scary he looked. Getting near him was a death sentence in the story. If I was smart, I would avoid him until the end of time. That became my new mission. Every time I heard his boots in the hallway, I ducked into another room. When I saw him in the courtyard, I turned and walked the other way, pretending to be very busy. I spent hours in the library, sitting behind tall stacks of books where no one could see me. At first, it seemed to work. I could go almost a whole day without being anywhere near him. But then I noticed something. Hiroto was looking for me. Every time I peeked out from behind a column or from the corner of the hallway, I found those gray eyes scanning the crowd. When I left the library one day, I caught him standing near the entrance, his arms crossed, like he had been waiting. My stomach dropped, and I ran back inside before he could say anything. The more I avoided him, the more intense his gaze became when our eyes finally met across a room. It was like a rope pulling tighter every time. That night I couldn't sleep. My room felt too small, too warm, and my chest felt heavy with nervous energy. I decided to go outside to get fresh air. The moon was high and bright, bathing the garden in silver light. The flowers smelled sweet and the night was quiet, except for the soft sound of crickets. I breathed deeply and finally felt like I could relax. I walked deeper into the garden, down a path lined with roses and tall hedges. The air was cool on my skin, and I tilted my head back, closing my eyes for a moment. And then I felt it, that same burning presence. I opened my eyes fast, and there he was. Hiroto stood a few steps away, his tall figure half hidden in the shadows. The moonlight caught on his dark hair and the sharp lines of his face. His gray eyes glowed faintly, locked on me like he had finally caught his prey. My breath caught in my throat. "I told you not to follow me," I said, even though my voice came out small and weak. He took a slow step forward. "You've been running from me all week," he said quietly, his voice deep and smooth. "Why?" I stepped back, but my back hit the trunk of a tree. There was nowhere left to go. Hiroto closed the distance between us, stopping so close I could feel the heat of his body. My heart pounded so loud I thought it would jump out of my chest. "You smell different tonight," he murmured. leaning down until his lips were near my ear. His warm breath made my whole body shiver. Sweet. I felt my knees weaken. I could feel my body heating up, that strange omega reaction I had been fighting since the banquet. My throat went dry, and my fingers curled against the tree bark. No, not now. Please, not now. Get away from me. I whispered, but my voice betrayed me, shaking too much to sound strong. Hiroto's eyes darkened, his alpha scent thick in the night air. It rolled over me, making my chest tight, my skin hot. Is that what you really want? He asked, his voice low, teasing, like he already knew the answer. I hated how my body betrayed me. My pulse was racing, my breathing quick and shallow, my scent probably giving me away. The heat spread lower in my stomach, making my legs tremble. This is bad. So bad. If he notices, if he realizes I'm reacting to him, he'll never let me go. But I couldn't move. I couldn't think. Hiroto's hand came up and rested against the tree near my head, caging me in. His other hand hovered near my waist, not touching, but so close that I could feel the warmth of it. Look at me, he ordered softly. I shook my head. Rikuya. The way he said my name, low and dangerous, made me look up without thinking. Our eyes met, and my chest squeezed tight. His gaze was heavy, hot, like it could see right through me. You weren't this shy before, he said, tilting his head slightly. What happened to the sharp-tongued Omega who used to try to make me angry? I'm not. I bit down on the words before I said too much. I'm not him. Hiroto's mouth curved, not quite a smile, more like a hunter satisfied with his catch. You can run all you want, he said softly, but I'll always find you. And before I could reply, he leaned in and pressed his lips to my neck. It wasn't a full bite, not a mark, but his lips were warm and firm against my skin. My breath hitched, my whole body locking in place. His teeth grazed my skin lightly, almost teasing, and I felt my legs go weak. Hiroto. He pulled back just slightly, close enough that I could still feel his breath. You smell even sweeter when you're scared, he whispered. My chest was heaving now, my body hot all over. My mind screamed at me to push him away, but my hands stayed frozen against the tree. He stepped back finally, his eyes dark and unreadable, leaving me breathless and shaking. That's enough for tonight, he said, his voice softer, almost satisfied. But don't think this is over. He turned and walked away, his boots silent on the stone path. I stood there, my back against the tree, clutching at my chest, my heart racing so fast I could barely breathe. My neck still tingled where his lips had touched, and I knew I would feel it for the rest of the night. Oh no, I whispered into the quiet garden, my voice shaking. He's not going to stop. And deep inside, under the fear, there was something else. A heat that wouldn't fade. A part of me that didn't want him to stop at all. I could still feel his lips on my neck. Even the next morning, when the sun streamed through the window and the maids brought breakfast, my fingers kept brushing over that spot. It wasn't even a real bite, not a mark, but it burned like one. I barely ate, my stomach twisted in knots. All day I avoided every hallway, every room where Hiroto might be. My heart wouldn't stop racing. My body kept heating up every time I remembered his voice. By evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed air. I needed space. I needed to cool this heat running wild in my blood. So I slipped out and made my way to the secluded bathhouse behind the east wing. It was quiet there, far from the banquet halls and crowded gardens. Servants rarely came this late, and I just wanted a moment to breathe without feeling watched. The bathhouse smelled faintly of cedar and warm stone. The room was lit by soft lanterns, their glow turning the steam to gold. I undressed slowly, folding the black robe carefully, my hands still trembling. The cool air brushed my skin, making goosebumps rise along my arms. When I slid into the water, it was hot and soothing, covering me up to the shoulders. My muscles relaxed for the first time in days, and I closed my eyes, sinking lower. Just relax, I whispered to myself. He's not here. You're safe. I let my head rest against the edge of the bath, breathing in the misty air. The water was quiet, the room calm, and then I heard the sound of a door sliding open. My eyes snapped open. No one was supposed to come here this late. Through the mist, a tall, dark figure stepped inside. The lantern light caught on broad shoulders, a bare chest. Hiroto. My heart jumped to my throat. He had stripped down to his black trousers, his hair loose now, falling around his face in wet strands. His storm-gray eyes glowed faintly as he looked at me, and every step he took into the room made the steam swirl around him. I pressed myself back against the wall of the bath. What are you doing here? I was looking for you. His voice was calm, low, but there was something dangerous under it. I swallowed hard, my breath quickening. You can't just walk in here. He stepped closer, stopping at the edge of the water. Tell me why you're running from me, Rikuya. I gripped the stone edge so hard my knuckles turned white. If I told him the truth, that I wasn't Rikuya, that I was someone else trapped in his body, he would think I was insane. Maybe worse. Maybe he would kill me for lying. But if I lied, if I made up some excuse, he might still kill me. My heart pounded in my chest, every beat loud in my ears. I'm not running, I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. Hiroto crouched down, bringing his face closer to mine, his gray eyes catching the lantern light. Liar! His alpha scent rolled over me in waves, heavy and intoxicating. The steam made the room even hotter, or maybe it was just me. My skin burned, my chest rising and falling too fast. He moved into the bath, the water rippling around him as he stepped closer. My back hit the wall. There was nowhere left to go. You've changed, he said softly, his eyes roaming over my face like he was memorizing every detail. You're quieter, softer, almost afraid. I turned my head away, unable to hold his gaze. Look at me, he ordered. Slowly, I looked back at him. He reached out, his fingers brushing against my jaw, gentle but firm, tilting my head toward him. The touch sent a shiver down my spine. I don't know what game you're playing, he said, his voice a low rumble. But I'll have the truth from you. Hiroto. The name slipped out before I could stop it. I froze. Rikuya had never called him by his first name. Not once in the entire novel. Hiroto went still too, his gray eyes widening just a fraction. What did you just call me? His voice was softer now, almost dangerous. My throat was dry, my chest tight. I didn't know what to say, how to explain. He leaned closer until our foreheads almost touched, his breath warm against my lips. Who are you? He whispered. I stayed frozen, my heart hammering, my whole body trembling under his touch. He didn't move, didn't let me look away. His hand slid from my jaw to the back of my neck, holding me there, not roughly, but firmly, like he wasn't letting me escape this time. The steam curled around us, hiding the rest of the room, making it feel like the world had shrunk down to just the two of us. Our bodies too close, our breaths mixing in the hot air. I didn't have an answer for him. All I could feel was my own pulse, loud and fast, and the heat that had nothing to do with the bathwater. Hiroto, I said again, this time softer, almost a plea. His grip tightened slightly, and his gray eyes darkened. That's the second time, he said, his voice low, unreadable. You really are different. And then, slowly, like he was giving me time to run, though we both knew I wouldn't, he leaned in until his lips hovered just above mine. I didn't know if he would kiss me or demand my confession, but I knew one thing. I couldn't hide from him anymore. After that night in the bathhouse, I couldn't get Hiroto's words out of my head. Who are you? It haunted me, echoed in my chest like a heartbeat. He had looked right into my soul, and for a moment, I thought he could see the truth, that I didn't belong here. For days, I kept my distance again, but something had changed. Every time we crossed paths, his gray eyes followed me. Not cold, not cruel, just sharp, focused like he was watching every move I made. It was almost worse than before. One evening, I found him waiting in the courtyard. You can't keep running from me, he said simply, blocking the path. I tightened my grip on my robe. I'm not running. You are. His voice was calm, but there was no room for argument. My chest hurt. My legs felt heavy. I was tired of pretending, tired of being scared every second. I don't want trouble, I said finally, my voice low. I just want to live, quietly, without anyone trying to hurt me. For a moment, Hiroto just stared at me. Then his expression softened. Just slightly, but enough to make my throat tighten. You should have said that sooner, he said, stepping closer. His scent wrapped around me, warm and heavy. If you stay by my side, no one will harm you. Something in his tone made me shiver. It was not a simple promise. It was a claim. That weekend, there was a royal event, a ballroom gathering, full of music, wine, and gossip. The hall glowed with golden light, and the air smelled of roses and polished wood. Nobles in jewel-colored gowns and fine coats filled the room, laughing and whispering. I stood near the edge of the floor, clutching a glass of wine, wishing I could disappear. And then I felt him before I saw him. Hiroto. He moved through the crowd like the hall belonged to him, his black coat sharp, his long hair tied back neatly. People stepped aside as he passed, bowing slightly. His eyes found me instantly, and I felt my stomach drop. He didn't stop until he stood right in front of me. Dance with me, he said. Not a question. Before I could protest, his hand took mine, warm and firm, and he led me onto the dance floor. The music swelled around us as his arms slid around my waist, pulling me closer than was proper. I could feel the strength of his body even through our clothes, his scent curling around me like smoke. You look like you belong to me, he murmured, low enough that only I could hear. My breath caught. Heat rushed to my face, and I stumbled on the next step. Don't say things like that in public, I hissed, glancing nervously at the other dancers. But it was too late. People were already staring. I could hear the whispers starting, see fans lifting to hide excited faces. Great, I thought, panic twisting in my stomach. Now the whole court thinks we're... You don't like it? Hiroto asked, his voice calm but his gray eyes glinting. I swallowed hard. It's not that. Then stop fighting me. The dance ended and he didn't let me go. He led me off the floor, down a quiet hallway, away from the curious eyes and hushed voices. Hiroto, wait. The moment we were alone, he pushed me gently against the wall, caging me in with his arms. Why do you keep running? He demanded, his voice low but rough now. I'm not. Yes, you are, he growled, stepping closer until I could feel the heat of him through my clothes. Every time I get near you, you act like you're afraid of me. And yet you blush when I touch you. My chest rose and fell too quickly, my pulse racing. His alpha scent filled the narrow space, making my knees weak. Hiroto. His hand came up, brushing the side of my neck with his thumb. My breath hitched. You drive me insane, he said, his voice almost a whisper now. I should stay away from you, but I can't. Every time you run, I just want to catch you. Before I could answer, he leaned closer, his lips brushing the skin of my neck. My whole body locked in place, heat rushing through me. And then I felt it, the light scrape of his teeth against my skin. I gasped, grabbing his sleeve, my heart hammering. He stopped just short of biting me, just short of leaving a real mark. His breath was hot against my neck, his body trembling slightly with restraint. You're not ready? He growled, his voice low and rough. But you will be. Slowly, he pulled back, his gray eyes dark with something fierce. I stayed pressed against the wall, my chest heaving, my legs barely holding me up. Hiroto stared at me for one more long moment, then turned and walked away, leaving me trembling, my neck tingling where his mouth had been. I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling my heart racing out of control. I should have been angry, or scared, but instead all I could think was how close he had come, and how part of me had wanted him not to stop. I should have known it wouldn't end quietly. Ever since the ballroom night, the rumors had grown louder. Servants whispered in hallways. Nobles smiled too sweetly when they passed me, their eyes full of questions. And worst of all, Lord Daichi was watching me like a hawk. Lord Daichi was an alpha noble with golden hair and a cruel smile. In the story I remembered, he hated Rikuya, hated him enough to help destroy him in the end. So when I walked into the hall for the royal meeting that morning, my chest already felt tight. And then Daichi smirked. "My lords and ladies," he said loudly, his voice carrying across the marble hall. "It seems our dear Rikuya has changed. So soft now, so quiet, almost like a different person." The room went silent. Everyone turned to look at me. Daichi stepped closer, his smirk turning sharp. "Tell us, Rikuya, what are you hiding? Who are you really?" My breath caught. My palms turned cold and sweaty. He knew, or at least he suspected. "I'm not hiding anything," I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. Daichi's laugh was sharp. "Liar." And then he said something cruel. Something that cut too close about how omegas like me were only good for being used and tossed aside. The crowd murmured, some looking away in discomfort. My chest squeezed painfully. I wanted to run, but my feet stayed frozen. And then a low, dangerous voice cut through the noise. "Enough!" Everyone turned. Hiroto stood near the entrance, his dark coat sweeping the floor, his storm-gray eyes cold as ice. He walked toward us, every step echoing in the hall. When he stopped beside me, his presence was like a wall between me and Daichi. "You will not speak to him that way," Hiroto said, his voice sharp enough to cut steel. Daichi sneered. "Defending him now, Duke? I thought you didn't care for spoiled omegas." Hiroto's gray eyes narrowed. "Say one more word, and I will cut you down where you stand." The tension in the room turned electric. Daichi's smirk widened. "Then prove it. A duel," I gasped. "No." But Hiroto's voice was calm, almost too calm. "Accepted." The duel was set for that afternoon in the training yard. Nobles gathered to watch, whispering and placing bets. I stood near the edge of the yard, my hands clenched so tight they hurt. Hiroto stood on one side, tall and calm, his sword gleaming in the sun. Daichi stood on the other, his golden hair bright, his grin smug. When the fight started, it was like a dance of steel and fury. Daichi was fast, but Hiroto was faster. Every strike, every movement was precise and powerful. The sound of swords clashing rang in my ears, my heart pounding with every hit. And then, with one final move, Hiroto disarmed him, his blade at Daichi's throat. "Yield," Hiroto said coldly. Daichi's smirk faltered, and after a long moment, he dropped to one knee. "I yield." The yard went silent. Hiroto stepped back, lowering his sword, and the crowd began to murmur. Some clapped softly. Others looked at me with wide eyes, whispering even more now. But I didn't care, because Hiroto was walking toward me, his gray eyes locked on mine. When he reached me, I felt my breath catch. "You're safe now," he said quietly, his voice softer than I had ever heard it. Something inside me broke. I was so scared. I whispered, my voice shaking. "From the moment I woke up in this body, I've been scared. Every day I thought I would die. Every time you looked at me, I thought you would be the one to kill me. I tried to stay away, but my throat closed, tears burning my eyes. I couldn't stop thinking about you." Hiroto's expression softened, and before I could move, his arms were around me, pulling me against his chest. "Never again," he murmured into my hair. "You don't have to be afraid anymore. Not of anyone. Not of me." My heart thudded hard. His warmth surrounded me, his scent sinking into my skin until I felt dizzy. And then he tilted my head back, his gray eyes dark and intense. "Kenji," he said. Not Rikuya, not an insult, but my real name, like he had known it all along. And then he kissed me. It wasn't soft. It wasn't careful. It was hot and desperate, his lips claiming mine like he had been waiting forever. My hands grabbed at his coat, holding on as my knees threatened to give out. When we broke apart, my chest was heaving, my lips tingling. And then his mouth was on my neck. My breath hitched as I felt his teeth scrape the skin. And then pain, sharp and quick, followed by a rush of heat so strong it made me gasp. He was marking me. When he pulled back, I felt the wet heat of the bite and the pulse of his alpha pheromones sinking deep into me. "You are mine," he whispered, his voice low and rough against my ear. "In every world, every lifetime." Tears slipped down my cheeks, but I was smiling, my chest so full it hurt. Maybe dying once was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it brought me into his arms again. Did that scene make your heart skip a beat too? Don't forget to like, comment, and tell us your favorite moment. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Cherryboyhearts BL so you never miss the next steamy stories.